In this video, I would like to give you an overall perspective on the relationship of the HTML files to themselves and to the folders that might be contained in your overall website. Every asset is an individual file, including the images, and you can place all of your assets in the one folder, which is called the root, or you can organize them. For this class, you are more than welcome to use one folder. However, in the real world, a website is a very complex structure consisting of thousands of files, possibly, in many directories. So here I have Chapter 2. Now I have two files in the root. They are in the root here. Now I also have a folder. When I open the folder, there is a file in it. Notice my path changes. So when you're working with HTML files and linking them together, you need to be aware of the relationship between the two. You just can't name the file name because it needs to know what is called the path, where it is in relationship to everything else. So here I am in brackets, and here is my Chapter 2 folder. I can say File, Open Folder as a project. And notice, these two files are in my root. Also in my root is a folder here. This folder contains a file. So if I double-click Demo, notice Demo is up here. That means I have it open. It's a working file. You can only see one at a time. This is my project. Alright, so let's take a look at this file. Here we have the doc type. That should always go first. Our HTML element. Okay, remember this is an HTML attribute set to a value. In HTML5, values do not need to be double quoted. They can have no quotes or single quotes. However, you will see most web developers still use double quotes because we've been doing that all along. Here is my head section, and here is my body section all the way down. Notice I have my title and my meta character set. So you always want to have these two elements in the head section. Remember, our meta tags are one-sided. Most elements are two-sided, meaning they contain something. All right, now let's take a look at what we have in the body. Here we have an HTML header tag. This is one of our new HTML5 elements, and it is a structural semantical element. It tells the browser, it also tells other third-party agents such as search engines and screen readers that this is the header section. Inside, I have a heading level 1 and some content. Now, if I wanted to write it this way, I could. However, the style is up to you, whichever seems more logical. Some people like writing across, some people like writing down. I wish to stress, because this is a header element, it does not go in the head. Only processing information goes in the head. All of your content goes in the body. This is a big point of confusion for some students. All right, now we see another new HTML5 element. This is nav. This is where the navigation will be placed. For right now, we are going to learn the A element, or anchor. We will learn more about navigation in the future. All of the content is located in a main element. Now, some websites may use main and some may not. Here again, it's a structural HTML5 container element. At the bottom of my page, I have a footer. Here again, it indicates a footer section, copyright information, whatever, of your document. So this is our first page, and I'm called it Demo. All right, let's take a look at an unordered list. Let me move this away. Lists are very important in HTML. Number one, they are semantic. They indicate a collection of something. You will see in the future that navigation and other web content highly utilizes the UL element, so it's important to understand how to create it properly. Okay, the definition of a container element. It contains something. It's either going to be HTML or text or images, content. Okay, the UL contains the LIs. Here I have an opening and closing LI. That's a list item. Inside is the content. Content goes inside the LIs only. It does not go outside of them. It does not go here. Even though it might look okay, it is not semantically correct, and you're going to run into problems in the future. All right, you don't go sticking anything in here either. No HTML, no breaks, no nothing. If you want to format it, you do that with CSS. We will learn that later. All right, so if I were to save this, and I were to preview it here, here we have an unordered list. Notice that it is a block level element. There's space on the top of it, space on the bottom of it, automatically indents, and it will also wrap if possible, if needed. Okay, we also have an ordered list. So by changing the U to an O, I can now have numbers. We also have a type attribute. So here again, this in HTML attributes go inside the HTML element, and there are many values for this. They are in the text. So by changing the type of numbering, I can display a different type of ordering system. We also have a start attribute. So if I were to say start equals 4, it means it's going to start at the 4th position of this numbering system, which would be D. So there's a little bit of configuration you can do with an OL in HTML5. You used to be able to use the type attribute with the UL, but that has been deprecated in HTML5. You can use CSS also. We will learn that in the future. It is always preferable to use CSS over an HTML attribute. All right, here we have a generic div. A div is nothing other than a container. Before our new HTML5 elements, everything was laid out in divs. You might hear the phrase a div layout. That was XHTML, HTML4. Now we have these new semantic containers, nav, main, header, footer, section, aside. You'll learn them later. All right, so here we have breaks, which takes us down to another line. A div is nothing but a container that you can use for any purpose. And here we have our div here. All right, special characters. We have many special characters in HTML. And we also have special characters in word processors, characters that may not necessarily be on the keyboard. And there is more information in your text. So if you were to insert the special character, it would be interpreted by the browser. And here you can see the copyright right there. All right, let's take a look at a description list. This is a description list. And a description list is for some kind of a content that lends itself to this, a term and a description. Notice that the description is indented, the term is not. All right, so let's take a look at a description list here. We have the opening DL and the closing DL. There's the DT. Opening and closing, that's for the term, DT, definition term. If you want to enclose the term with a phrase level element such as strong, which renders in bold, you may do so. Here's the DD, opening, closing. You need a DT and a DD. It's semantically correct. You just don't want to put DTs. You just don't want to put DDs. You want one of each. Okay, everything goes inside the DL. Here again, you don't go putting content on the outside of anything. Everything goes inside either the DT or the DD. You do not put LIs inside a DT. You don't put DTs and DDs inside a UL unless it's inside the list item, which it probably shouldn't be. So students sometimes start mixing and matching these just because it looks right. It will work. That does not mean it's technically correct. All right, so let's continue back to demo and let's look at linking. The heart and soul of the web is the ability to click on a link and access another web page. By the way, this is a special character for one character of white space. This is how you can space things out. There's other ways of doing it, but this works well. All right, the opening and closing A, the A tag or the anchor tag, that is the syntax for a hyperlink. However, we need to use the href attribute. Here again, this is an HTML attribute. There are only a handful of HTML elements that have attributes, so you're not going to have a problem trying to figure out what goes where. You know, I always say ahref. This is a link. This is a hyperlink. The value of the href attribute is the destination. That is the page where we're going. What is inside is click on hyperlink. So if we were to look at this, these are the hyperlinks. Notice when I put my cursor, it turns into a hand. Okay, that's the text in between the opening and closing A. By default, the browser renders it blue with an underline. We can get rid of that with CSS. We'll learn that soon. I'm going to explain how you use paths. Paths and a few other attributes are not covered until Chapter 7. I'd like to go over them now. If you click on a link that is in the same folder that the page is, then all you need to do is reference the name of the page. And that's the way the book is set up. The book is not set up into directory or folder structures. I'm just explaining how it goes. So if everything is in the root, so here we have these two pages are in the root. So if I'm linking back and forth to them, all I need to do is reference the page. However, here I have a folder that is one level below my root. My root is Chapter 2. I have a folder one level below that root. If I want to access this file, I need a path. The path says go down one level to the menu folder and access this file. That is the way a path works. It's based on where your file is. My file is in the root. My file is demo up here. And it says go down one level, access this file. So if I were to launch this, there we go. And take a look at my path. You will always see your path in your browser address bar. And when you hover over a link, you will always see the path in the status bar below. Supposing I want to go back to the home page. How do I do that? Here I am. I'm on the menu page. I'm one level underneath the root. So I have to go back up to the root and then access demo. .. / is the universal syntax for going up one. So I'm telling the browser to go up one level, which puts me into the root. Then I'm going to pull this file, and I will access that file. So here we go. Notice I'm back into the root. Notice you don't see Chapter 12 up here because that's the root. External links. If you're going to someone else's website, you want to target that to open in a new window. So here I have two links that are targeted to open into a new window. So let's see what happens. If I click on music, notice a new tab is open. There's Pandora. My website is in this tab. I click on Jobs. A new tab opens. Now I have 2 new tabs. Nothing wrong with that. The point of this is when a visitor is on your website, you don't want to lose them. So if you're taking them away from your website, the convention is to use a target for that link, and that's called targeting. There are some reserved target words. However, if you configure your own target name, and I'm just going to call it XYZ, and let me save this, what it will do, I'm going to reload, I'm going to close these, it will launch both links into that same window. Notice, there's Monster, and if I click the back arrow, now there's Pandora. So if you are targeting a lot of links, like a resource page, it's more considerate to your user to open everything in the same tab, rather than have 10 tabs open and then they have to go close them all. All right, so this is the target attribute. One more other thing I would like to point out with respect to linking. This is the notorious mail to. This is what we used in the early days of the web before there was web-based email. Some browsers have difficulty handling this. Some browsers might. Mobile phones have no difficulty with this. However, it's not that user-friendly in my opinion. If I were to click on this, what's going to happen? It's going to ask me something. How do you want to open this? All right, now, and you probably can't open it in Google Chrome. It's really looking for a mail client. So here again, not everyone is web savvy, and to confuse your user is not a good idea. My personal suggestion is not to use this unless you really need to use it. As I said, it works fine on a mobile device. All right, so these are the highlights for this week's lecture, mainly focusing on lists and the anchor element, the A element, and some new HTML5 structural elements.